All right, please welcome the Latina genius behind Encanto, co-director and co-writer Charise Castro Smith, and producer Yvett Merino.
I think there's one glass for me.
Great.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so we have an exciting portion of this morning, and this is a panel, and some of the questions here, have you seen them yet? Some of them? They're really thoughtful, and so I just want you guys to be prepared for some really great answers, I'm sure, because a lot of this has to do with family and a lot of heritage that sometimes doesn't get depicted, and so this will be fun to hear what your inspiration was. So let's start by having each of you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into the film industry, because I'm sure there are a lot of aspiring film industry women here, and how you got to work on Encanto.
Sure, I can start it off. So I was really interested in theater from a very young age. I loved plays. I did a lot of community theater. I'm from Miami. I grew up in Miami and Cuban American. And so I always just really loved theater. And I went to college and studied theater and went to the Yale School of Drama as an actor and studied that and started writing plays. And writing plays led to TV writing. I wrote for a show called Devious Maids, and I wrote for a show called The Haunting of Hill House. And I was working on a TV show when Jared and Byron, the other two directors of the film, reached out and were looking for a writer to join them. And so I joined the film as a writer, and then luckily got to be a co-director as well.
Wow, fantastic. And then what about you?
Well, I have a little bit different path. I grew up here in Southern California, in Norwalk. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My parents worked hard, raised us, a house full of girls, and said, go to college and get a job. And that was my instruction with life. And I didn't really know what else to do. They didn't go to college, so they didn't really know how to guide me through, so I kind of had to figure it out. So I went to UC Santa Barbara. I got my undergrad. I know some of my girls are here. I went to UC Santa Barbara. I got my undergrad. I studied sociology. And I didn't know, again, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I met one of my best friends there, and from day one, she knew she wanted to be a teacher, and all these years later, she's still teaching. I didn't have that. I didn't know, and I was just trying to figure it out. So after college, I worked in social work for a couple of years. It didn't really feel right for me, and so I started temping around, and I ended up with a long-term temp job at Disney Animation. I was fortunate enough to get hired on, and then I worked in the technology department. I was an assistant, and I got promoted to like an administrative manager, and again, I was happy working at the studio. We have an amazing studio with amazing people there, but I didn't really feel fulfilled, and I was like, oh, I guess this is work. My parents never really loved work, so this must be it. And so, but over time, I just wasn't challenged in my job, and I just wasn't enjoying it. So I got an opportunity to kind of switch jobs, and through that, I met a producer who ended up being one of the producers on Tangled, and he said, I need somebody to manage my editing department. Why don't you come and try? I think you might be good at it. And that's how I got my start in production. And from there, within 6 months, I figured, oh my gosh, I found my people. I can use my organizational skills and that need that I have to kind of put everything in place and help people kind of accomplish. And I'm working with these amazing artists and creating this amazing artwork. And so that's really kind of how I got my start in production. And then I went on and worked on a bunch of different shows. And most recently, I was working in our development department, and Byron and Jared, as Charise mentioned, were working, starting at the very, very beginning early on Encanto. And I knew they were doing a film based somewhere in Latin America, so I'd pop in their office. I said, hey guys, what are you doing? What's going on? Because I knew I really had to be on the show. So it just worked out that I ended up being one of the producers.
How long ago was that? Like, how long does it take from an idea to having
So
this
the
film?
directors have kind of started, they worked together on Zootopia, and they kind of started talking towards the end of Zootopia that they wanted to do a musical. I worked with Jared Bush on Moana, and then
Such a good movie. Too.
as they kind of became free from those shows, they started working on it. So they worked on it for about 5.5 years. I was on it for about 3.5.
Amazing. And then now it's here.
And now it's here.
How great is that to see the final product? And then the reaction, too, is incredible.
It's amazing the way people are connecting with the film.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. It's such a beautiful celebration of Colombian heritage, but also Hispanic family heritage. Yeah. You know, many of us see our own backgrounds and families reflected in the film. My mom's Peruvian. I grew up with a Peruvian household, and everything's like very similar. What was the inspiration for the film, and what was the genesis, and why Colombia specifically?
You want to take it? Go ahead. Sure. So Byron and Jared, as I said, they had worked together on Zootopia, and Jared had the opportunity to work with Lin-Manuel Miranda on Moana, and they formed a great relationship, and so they knew they wanted to work together again, and they wanted to do a musical. Both Byron and Jared love musicals, and so they started talking, and Lin-Manuel felt really strong he wanted to do something based in Latin America. And so as the three of them started talking, they really kind of, one thing they found that they really had in common were these large extended families. And as they, so that kind of was the very beginning of telling the story about a family. And as they did research in Latin America, they kind of really started finding out where they wanted to focus this film. And Colombia was is such a beautiful country, and it's such a diverse country. They really fell in love with it. And so that's kind of how, that's how they, kind of started focusing on Colombia.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Just the sort of initial idea for the movie, the kind of thematic idea for the movie, they were working a lot with perspective and sort of how we see the people in our family, the people that we think we know really well, that we might sort of see their masks and see their personas and the roles that they play, but we don't kind of see past that to who they are and all the kind of complexities that they bring with them. So that was also kind of the guiding principle of the movie, what we sort of dove in with and were thinking about as we were developing it and throughout.
You captured it really well. Encanto tells the story of a young woman who breaks the mold to uplift her family and guide her community forward. So that's kind of what you were speaking to. Why was it important to tell this side of a story?
Sure. I can speak for myself. So when I had that first initial conversation with Byron and Jared, what they knew was this movie was going to be about a huge family where everyone had magical powers except for sort of the one person that the movie was going to be about, Mirabel, right? That she was kind of the unexceptional person in the midst of all these really fabulous, talented, genius people. And for me, immediately, I was like sold the moment that they said that, because I was so excited because when I was growing up, I definitely felt like the one who kind of didn't know who she was and was kind of trying to figure out where she belonged and what her worth was and how I fit into the world. And so I just immediately, as a writer, just totally empathized with that character. And I think, everybody can, to a certain extent. Everybody's had that experience of feeling left out, questioning their worth, wondering if they're enough. And so I think, Mirabel is a character that I just immediately gravitated towards, and it's been wonderful to see people around the world gravitate towards her as well.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, exactly that. I think, Mirabel is really one of the ones that I know I felt that way many, many times in my life. I still feel that way sometimes, but it's really, I kind of equated to working. I walked into Disney Animation. I'm working with all these amazing artists who are so passionate, and I'm trying to figure out where exactly I fit in, but acting like I fit in, but really not wondering, knowing down deep inside, do I fit in? So it's that whole
I think a lot of people speak to that. Yeah. Definitely. You guys hit that pretty much on the head there, so thank you. And that hopefully gives a lot of people inspiration. Like we all have those insecurities, and this is such a great time to share that, because we sometimes question ourselves a little too much. And look at all you powerful ladies out here. You don't need to. Now, one of the reasons Encanto is such a unique and powerful story is that there's, no real villain. There's no real character you can call the villain in a traditional sense. So the main threat to the Madrigal family is their own unaddressed traumas, like what you said, the family secrets, the things that you don't know about Abuelita, or the fear of losing their safety. So can you tell us a little bit about why you chose to confront these topics, especially in this film?
I'm going to let you take that.
Sure. So, we developed this film, as Yvette was saying, over the course of multiple years, and we tried lots of different versions. Jared, my co-writer, and I had 1,300 drafts of this film from beginning to end. So we tried a lot of different ways of making this story, figuring out what it was. And we had a version for a while where there was an antagonist, and it just felt really silly because the heart of this movie was always this family and sort of who they were and the joys of family and also the complexities of family, I drew a lot as we were kind of crafting the beginning of the story we had two amazing helpers and consultants on the film, Juan Rendon and Natalie Osma, two Colombian filmmakers who were with us every step of the way. And just from the stories that they told us, and also kind of drawing from my own experience and my own family, just centered on this idea of this kind of unaddressed trauma, the things that the generations before us don't talk about, but that end up really influencing our lives and kind of influencing our families, the way we see ourselves ultimately, and then kind of addressing that and talking about it and breaking that cycle. And, Mirabel is the person who has the courage to do that. She's the person who's able to see people clearly without judgment and really kind of be there and witness this story that Abuela is known, but sort of the personal toll of it and the cost of it is something that Abuela kind of keeps really close to herself, and I think that's something a lot of families can relate to. And so it was always about kind of addressing that and forgiveness and love and change. We found we didn't need an antagonist when we were kind of dealing with all of that.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's just different, and it made it so enjoyable to watch too. Do you have anything to add to the storytelling of this?
No, I think that's, Charise covered a lot of it. It's just, as she mentioned, we work on these films and we work on the story over and over, and we'll screen the whole thing, we'll look at it, and then we'll work on it again. So it's really just that process of trying to find what fits and what's right for the story.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and it took a while to get to that. You really,
yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, the process is amazing. How long do you think, you said many drafts, but how long do you think overall the time period it took?
I think, as Yvette, it was 5.5 years from beginning to end. I was on the film for 3 years, so yeah, it was a long period of development and production.
Now, we know Latino representation in the film is not where it needs to be in terms of just sheer numbers and content. This is a great film because it kind of breaks that, but it's not enough. And so, as we know, it's an important issue for both of you. And what are some of the obstacles you have to overcome in the film industry? And what are you working on to make it more inclusive? And it feels like we're always heading in the right direction, and then there's a lull, and then we wait it out again, and then we're so how do we keep the momentum alive?
I agree. I feel like it's a wave that comes in, and we're all excited, oh, this is it, and then it, it kind of levels out for a little bit. But, I think for me, a lot of it was that I didn't know these jobs existed when I was a kid. I had no idea. I didn't know anybody who worked in the entertainment industry. Yes, I grew up in Southern California, but Hollywood could have been, thousands of miles away because it was just such a thing that was over there. And so I think one of the obstacles in one of the barriers of entry is just really letting people know that these jobs exist. And I, like I said, Disney animation, yes. People ask, oh, you work at Disney, are you an artist? Are you an animator? No, I'm not. I like to organize, that's my thing. So, but I have found my path and my way there. And there are, Disney has, human resources, we have legal, we have marketing, we have all different kinds, but I never knew that it was even possible. So I think that's one of the big ones. And then, the important thing is, and what I know we work hard at, is when people start, it's including them and making sure that they're okay. Because I know when I walked in those doors, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to keep quiet and just do what they tell me, and maybe they'll let me stay. But really, it's just a lot of bumping into things and figuring it out. So anything that I can do is people walk into Disney animation, and people of color, and making sure that they feel welcomed, that they feel a part of it. I spent many years feeling isolated there, because I was like, okay, this is who I'm supposed to be at work, and this is who I am at home. And so, I've been at Disney for like 25 years, but it wasn't until around like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I was a part of a group that started Voces at Disney, which is the first studios Latino and Hispanic employee resource group. And in that moment, I made so many connections. And so really, I learned how important it is to build your community. And so it's really about letting people know that the roles are out there, but also making them feel welcome when they get in the door.
That's great. That's wonderful. What about for you?
Sure. I mean, as Yvette was saying, I think it's about empowering people and sort of holding people's hands as they're starting in the new industry. But I also think it's about, I'm really inspired by Yvette, but also by a lot of leaders in the entertainment industry. I'm looking at like Tanya Saracho, Gloria Calderon-Keller, these people who are really building these entertainment empires and hiring people, and really, especially Tanya, has a whole lab where she is like identifying new upcoming writers and helping them sort of get their first job. So I think it's about sort of opening the door. Once you kind of get to a certain place where you can hire people and bring people with you, it's about holding your hand out and kind of bringing people along for the ride.
Yeah, and that's important. And I guess this is why we're here today. It's a networking thing. So if there's anybody, or I'm sure if anybody's kids are out there thinking about this, you guys would be a wonderful resource. Shoot an email.
Yes. Yes.
Ask questions. That's the big one.
Questions.
I was always so scared to ask questions.
Yes.
Or just reach out to people. But oftentimes people want to help. There's so many people that want to help.
True.
And that's amazing. So just rely on each other.
I got my first job in television because I was really inspired by Tanya. She was a playwright that I knew who had gotten a job on television. I was like, let me just take a chance and like ask her out for coffee. She doesn't know who I am, and she did. She said yes, and we talked, and she ended up giving my script to the producers of the show, and that's how I got my first job. So I think it is really about like these personal connections and helping these people out.
Yeah, and just having the courage to ask the question. I know it sounds silly, but it's like the first entry to so many things. Okay, so Encanto has been nominated, if you haven't heard, for 3 Oscars. It's incredible, yeah. We have music, original song, for those Oruguitas, animated feature film, and music original score with composer Jermaine Franco, and you, Yvette, being from this Latina-nominated group. This is amazing. Are you so excited?
I'm excited.
So big congratulations.
Thank you.
Felicidades. And we are so proud. So big round of applause. So, what would it mean if you were on that stage and accepted the award for the animated feature film?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Really, it's about, I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to stand in front and kind of represent the crew and the film. There are hundreds of people, amazing, talented people who work on this film, and so I'm one of the fortunate ones that gets to go up there if we're so lucky. But really, I think it's what it means to, to the community and young girls everywhere to be able to see someone who looks like them up on the stage. I never saw that. I didn't have that, so I didn't even dare to dream that, I think. And so really, my hope is that if we're fortunate, there's a lot of knocking on wood talking about it, but it's really about showing people that it's possible, and that it's for any little girl out there watching, who's watching or looking at it and sees that, hey, there's somebody who that, didn't come with any connections in Hollywood, didn't come with, knowing anyone, that it's completely possible. It's a lot of work, but it's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. That's great. This is our final question, and I don't want it to be. All right, so what message do you want to share with the Latinas in this room about the road to embracing their genius? Like Maribel, and how does I don't want to say, I can't say how the film ends, but no spoilers, but she does achieve, and she does overcome. So what is the takeaway there?
Can I go first? I'll go first. Okay. I don't know. I think really the message is find who you are. I spent many, many years just trying to figure out trying to fit into the areas that I sat in. But really, I discovered my genius, and I will even take that on. I discovered it once I figured out who I am and what I needed. And from that helped me kind of navigate and gave me a lot of clarity in how I navigate through the workplace, through life in general. But once I figured out kind of who I am and what I needed, then the things that everyone else thought was important, if it wasn't important to me, then I didn't care. And so I figured out what was important to me and kind of went in that direction.
That's wonderful. What about you?
Mirabel is a disruptor, She is disrupting the status quo of her family. She's saying, why do I have to feel unspecial? She's pushing against, this wall in her family. I think Yvette certainly is. I think, just kind of putting yourself out there, don't take no for an answer. Just kind of keep, if there's something you passionately believe in, just keep knocking on that door. Eventually it will start to come down, but it takes a lot of persistence and passion.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, it's quite special to see an idea, or even just, you watch any feature film and you think, how did they put any of this together? And when you look at an animated film and all of just the movement and all of the color and all the life and how you guys accomplished this is pretty unbelievable. I know you had a huge team, but you too, standing in the forefront of all of this, has been so special to watch. And so thank you for bringing this to all of us. We really just a proud moment to talk about, even in our household and with our family and everybody who enjoyed it. So thank you so much. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's crazy that it's here. It's beautiful. I know. It's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, ladies. You're true inspiration. We're so happy to have you here. And as I said earlier, the film's original score was nominated for an Oscar, and it just so happens that the composer, Germaine Franco, is the first Latina to be nominated in this category. Part of the film's power was its music. It's a powerful medium and the central part of the film. And we wanted to bring a part of that magic to life today. So to celebrate you and all of you countless young Latinas who have inspired and been inspired through Encanto, Hope has a special gift for you. This is a gift of music. Performing the Oscar-nominated song from the film Dos Oruguitas, please welcome Jasmine, Lopez, and Jorge Cardenas. And we invite all of you to join us to sing along, especially if you know the song. So we're going to let them set up. Isn't that great?
Están todas esas mujeres bonitas, fuertes. ¿Están listas para cantar conmigo? You guys ready to sing along? All right. Dos oruguitas pasan sus noches enamoradas y madrugadas llenas de hambre, siguen andando y navegando un mundo que cambia y sigue cambiando, navegando un mundo que cambia y sigue cambiando. Dos oruguitas paran el viento mientras se abrazan con sentimiento. Siguen creciendo, no saben cuándo buscar algún rincón. El tiempo sigue cambiando, inseparables son. El tiempo sigue cambiando. A ver, todos con las manos así. Ay, oruguitas, no se aguanten más. Hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás. Vienen milagros, vienen crisálidas. Hay que partir y construir su propio futuro. Ay, oruguitas, no se aguanten más. Hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás. Vienen milagros, vienen crisálidas. Hay que partir y construir su propio futuro. Dos oruguitas desorientadas en dos capullos bien abrigadas, con sueños nuevos. Ya solo falta hacer lo necesario en el mundo que sigue cambiando, tomando sus paredes. Ahí viene nuestro milagro. A ver, esas manitas. Ay, mariposas, no se aguanten más. Hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás. Ya son milagros, rompiendo crisálidas. Hay que volar, hay que encontrar su propio futuro. Ay, mariposas, no se aguanten más. Hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás. Ya son milagros, rompiendo crisálidas. Hay que volar, hay que encontrar su propio futuro. Ay, mariposas, no se aguanten más. Hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás. Ya son milagros, rompiendo crisálidas. Hay que volar, hay que encontrar su propio futuro. Muchas gracias. ¡Que vivan las mujeres!